Check. It's probably very loud. Hello. Hi. Hopefully you guys can hear me. If not, let me know in the chat on the live stream channel. I'm going to close the Artcamp hip chat, so I won't be able to see anything you do there. So I'll start in just a second. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some paintovers today. What I'd like to do, actually, first, I'm going to talk a little bit about format for going forward. I mentioned this the other day when I was doing my live stream with Sean Murray. But basically, what I'd like to do for the rest of Artcamp for you guys is to basically, I'll pop in on the forums and look at studies and stuff like that from time to time, but I think what would be more beneficial is if anybody has personal work that they really, really want looked at to improve their portfolio, or they want help moving forward with a particular piece, or anything like that. I think I would like to do a lot more personal paintover and a lot more portfolio review and that kind of thing. So I think that's going to be what I try to do. I've started a paintover thread in the crit section of the Artcamp forums. You can drop anything there that you want looked at, and I will go ahead and I will try to get to it. What I'd like to ideally do is do an hour and a half every day, eventually work at a set time. I'm trying to think of what would be best for everybody, and I'm not exactly sure yet, but I'd like to have a time every day where I'm going to be live, I'm going to be doing paintover and critique, and then you can just come here and I'll do an hour and a half every day, 7 days a week. And yeah, hopefully that'll be enough time live where I can really, really get a good look at what everybody's doing. I think it will be. But yeah, so that's kind of my goal. If there's something specific you guys want that you'd like me to do in the paintovers and crits and stuff like that, just say so. I'll be more than happy to try to address that. But yeah, that's the idea. So I had a request right before I came on. I'm going to be doing, I believe, 3 paintovers today. I might not get to everybody, but I will when I start tomorrow. So yeah, I'm going to do 3 today. I got a question in the chat. Hold on. Wanted to use my tree stump planar study as a base for an illustration with one creature of my sketches from week 2. Should I rather put that up for a crit later on? I won't be able to get to it today. I might be able to do it tomorrow if you put it up. I've already got the 3 I'm doing selected for today. I don't do these in chronological order based on like who posted up what first. I do it based on what's going to be a well-rounded group. So I can, cover a couple different things in each session. But I will get to it if you put it up. So feel free to do that. But yeah, feel free. Okay, so the big thing I'm going to work on in this, the composition's pretty much set. I'm gonna alter it a tiny bit because of some perspective weirdness, but basically the big thing I'm going to be critting in this one, the goal for this is to make it look more like a natural waterfall, and to make the rocks look more like they do around a waterfall. So I've got some reference on my off monitor of a couple nice waterfalls that I think work well. I'm going to be pulling from those. Reference, of course, is like, kind of the name of the game when you're working with natural things, because you want to see how it actually works. Water's very specific in how it moves and how it flows and how it appears when you capture it photographically, or even when people paint it. It does specific things based on where it's moving, how much of it there is, the surrounding environment, what it's falling over. And a big thing to remember is that water is transparent, and when it's falling, you know, it does turn white when it foams and bubbles, but that's usually only at the top of the drop and the very bottom of the drop with some streamers. So painting it all white to really max out the reflectivity feels natural, but it's not necessarily what's going to serve the painting the best, and it's not necessarily what's going to make it read as water the best. So I'm going to go in here and start working up this. Then I'm going to do the rocks, and yeah, we'll see how it goes. But if anyone has questions, feel free to put them in the chat. A couple things right off the bat that I would like to talk about. Basically, I have to stream these in standard definition, unfortunately, so in case anyone has any questions about that. Streaming in high definition on the Macintosh Procaster client for live stream, for some reason, makes it unbelievably slow, and it usually crashes the stream. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stream these in standard definition. You'll be able to hear everything I'm saying, and then I'm going to take the files, put them on YouTube, upload them to the forum, and then give you a JPEG of all the stuff I did along with the video, so you can see it clearly, even if the video might be a little blurry. So that is what's going on. That's the format I'm going to be using. Hopefully that works for people. So one little thing to keep in mind that I'm looking at in my reference, and I'm looking at with these, is that you've basically got like a staircase effect with the waterfalls here, where it's like step 1, step 2, step 3. And aside from like this one rock here, it's not really broken up at all, and the water's not really reacting to anything. So I'm going to make it a little more uneven. I'm going to say, okay, what if there was a shelf right here in the water? And then, you know, the water had to react and run down that. And then, you know, it catches around this rock here. What if there's another shelf up here, and the water reacts to that and has to cascade off that little indent? And just kind of, you know, the rocks are so uneven around the water that the rocks under the water should, you know, be the same kind of consistency. But yeah, I'm on my iMac, and the the microphones on these are notoriously sensitive for background noise. So if you hear anything, I apologize. I live in a marina in Boston, and a lot of people are putting the boats back in the water now that it's a warm season. So you might hear some machines and stuff. I'm going to change up the composition a tiny bit and say there's some meandering water over here that's trying to find its way down to the waterfall. I'm just trying to make it feel a bit more natural, because this isn't a river. Like, when you look at this, that's one thing to keep in mind. Like, this isn't a river, this is like a creek or a stream. And the thing about creeks and streams is that they're shallow, they're not deep. A river is where a creek or a stream has over time kind of cut into the rock and made a deep bed where the water can go, like a deep path where it can really get some depth. But this isn't that. This is very shallow. It's running over the surface of rocks. It's in a very new mountainy area. It's very kind of, you know, still relatively flat and shallow. So what that means is that the water is going to be coming down over the rocks from various paths and kind of meeting up at the bottom. That's usually what happens. It's I believe it's called a meander. That's like, you know, when a river bends to the left or to the right because it wants to find a path of least resistance. And yeah, you end up with all these little creeks that kind of, little tributaries almost, that kind of funnel into the big one. So I'm imagining that there's a much wider body of water at the top of whatever this rock formation is, and that the water's kind of spilling down naturally and spraying up. But yeah. So I'm just gonna keep going with this. I apologize if I get quiet. I'm not chatting with Sean or anything today, so I'm just kind of doing just kind of doing paint overs, and sometimes when you're painting, you know, you get in that zone and you just kind of get quiet. So I apologize in advance. I've got my my black coffee right here, ready to go. So I've got a desk full of Dinobots because the Transformers 4 toys that I did marketing art for came out finally, and they're at Toys R Us. So I went there and I bought a bunch. And then the mailman came today and he dropped off something I ordered on Amazon, and he said, "You sure got a lot of toys." And I felt like a huge loser. So there you go. So yeah, I'm gonna start getting into the rocks. I'm gonna make this a little cooler and a little grayer. So basically, there's a lot of shadows. There's a lot of shadows in these rocks that sink into black. That's okay. I'm gonna up them a little bit in certain spots into the lighter shades, but it's okay to make this dark because it's implied that we're in like a forest area, and you know there might be a lot of like leaf coverage and stuff like that. So maybe not a lot of light gets in, and that's okay. It's okay to keep it dark. It's okay to keep it spooky. It's fine. One thing I should keep in mind when I'm painting this, which I didn't address, is that this might be a study of a photograph of a river, and I don't know if it is. From here on out, guys, if you submit studies to the Crit Forum, well, not the Crit Forum, but to the Paint Over thread specifically in the Crit Forum, please post the reference image. Okay, so this is from Imagination. Good. For anyone else who's thinking of posting studies or plein air or anything like that, I need to, in order to crit a study, I need to see what you're studying, because if I assume it's a personal piece, I might go, oh, well, compositionally, you want to do this, and, you know, the girl's features are weird, and you might want to change them to this, and, like, if you're copying something, I need to see what you're copying so I can identify where the mistakes are and give you an accurate crit. I will say, in general, you get way more out of critiques of personal work. Studies are kind of like your place to explore, your place to make mistakes and learn from your own stuff. So like you'll get way more out of, here's a portfolio piece that I spent hours on and I really pushed myself and it's the best thing I've ever done, and can you please help me identify what I need to work on the most? Like that's the stuff where you get the best results. Things like, I studied this photograph but her nose looks weird, is like, all I can really do is fix the nose based on the photograph that you already have, which I'm happy to do if you're really stuck. I'm just saying that, you know, you're going to get way more out of portfolio crits in terms of, like, you know, individual development and getting your stuff up to where you want it to be. So I'm just kind of trying to find a balance here of the whites in the water, where the water is foaming and catching. I'm trying to find exactly how much of that I want in here. I mean, basically, if you go onto Google and you type in like creek waterfall or stream waterfall, you'll see what I'm talking about. Where the water is surprisingly transparent. The light is, you know, the sunlight's coming from top down, so the top of where the water falls off really, really catches that white. But then as it kind of cascades down, it gets very transparent. Where the water flattens out at the bottom, I'm going to widen it out a bit just for composition reasons. Try to get around this rock and kind of imply that this rock is in the foreground and not exactly hugging the contour of that river, stream, creek. Try to get carving down here to show there's water underneath it, running under it. Let's see. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be working on the water as I go. It's one of those things where you could literally you could literally render waterfalls for hours and hours and hours because they're just like fun and never done kind of thing. Like, it's just sort of hypnotizing to do it because the water just keeps gradiating. But yeah, so let's see. I'm gonna get into the second thing, which is the moss, which is the second big thing I want to talk about. Do I know this much about fluid dynamics from just sitting and observing waterfalls? Well, I mean, all the stuff I'm talking about, you can kind of observe in images if you just go look at a lot of reference. But I spend a lot of time in New Hampshire, which is like pretty much nothing but mountains and streams. I used to summer there when I was a kid. I go up there a lot. I really, really love it up there. But yeah, the way waterfalls work, it's kind of cool. When you go there, a waterfall might look a certain way, and when you go the next year, it might look totally different. Like, there might be new branches of it, there might be a new path it's taking, and you can see the old path, and you're like, oh, something happened. In the winter, either something froze and it redirected the current of the water that dug out an easier channel with less resistance, or, something happened. Something dammed the river at a certain point and it diverted, or you start seeing all these weird little things when you visit the same place multiple times over a couple of years, where the way a river works is never the same from year to year. There's slight differences in it always because water's always moving, and everything else is kind of like subject to the elements of the seasons and what the animals do, what people do, and the water by force of nature, just because it's water. It wants to find a path of least resistance. Wherever it can go the fastest is where it's going to go. So if something changes, a whole river can be diverted. And it's really cool to see that happen in specific places and go, oh, this has changed. This whole environment's different now because that river went a different way. Let me know if anything happens with the player on live stream. Like I said, the client for Mac isn't the most reliable. So if I need to restart or anything like that, or turn myself up, yeah, just let me know, and I'll try and get on that. Things to keep in mind when painting waterfalls. If the rocks are extremely smooth and it's one big piece of rock or a couple big pieces of rock, that means the river's been there for a very long time and it has carved out the stone and smoothed it out by running over it for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. If it's a big pile of disjointed rocks that kind of looks like it might have been a landslide or a big fracture of a giant boulder like the one I'm painting right now, that means it's relatively new because the water hasn't had time to go over these rocks and really, wash away the small ones and carve out the big ones. So that means it's a relatively new stream. Yeah, it's just little things. Little things that can add personality to a piece where You might not think about it, but the smoother an environment is around a river, that implies age. That means that that water's been cutting down through that rock and smoothing it out for a very long time. So, depending on what you're painting and what the intended narrative is in your piece, you might want to think about that kind of stuff because it does add. It's a little thing that a lot of people don't think about that just adds that little extra oomph to your portfolio when you put that kind of thought into it. So, let's see here. Oh, and in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys another piece that I'm going to crit later right now. This one. If anyone knows who this girl is, I want to say it's like Miss Marvel or some version of Miss Marvel. It might just be made up. I'm not sure. But if this is a superhero that you recognize, please tell me in the chat so I can go find reference. Otherwise, I'm just going to crit it based on the fundamentals. I don't know all of the superheroes, so could use some help with that. The file is called Carol, which is why I thought maybe it's Miss Marvel. I'm not sure. Or some version of her, because, you know, they reinvent characters all the time. Okay, so... You get some green in here. All this moss is very, it's very brown. Which might be intentional, but I'm gonna get some growth in here. It's okay for your colors to get money. I have to check. I mentioned this on the stream I did with Sean. I just want you guys to know for future reference. I'm dichromatically colorblind, so very neutral reds, browns, and greens. It's very hard for me to differentiate if they're more red, if they're more green. So sometimes I have to color pick and really, like, you know, try to understand what choices are being made, why they're being made, because I don't wanna crit somebody incorrectly and get the color wrong. So just letting you guys know, if you catch something that might be triggering my my color blindness, don't be afraid to mention it. So at a low opacity, I'm just kind of washing some green in here. Gonna do some hanging bits over the black, because moss can have some cool little hanging particles, some little flowering strands that can kind of be suspended. Oh yeah, moss can come in all different colors. I just wanted to get some green in here because it didn't feel particularly like an autumn kind of painting. It felt more foresty to me, so I just wanted to get some green in. But yeah, moss can come in all kinds of colors. There's moss that looks kind of silver. There's moss that looks very orange. There's moss that looks very red, brown, sienna, all different kinds of green. Yeah, moss is a very varied thing. And then there's stuff that isn't moss that looks like moss, different kinds of fungus and stuff like that that grow, lichen. There's all kinds of cool growth you can stick on rocks, tree stumps, all that stuff. Hey Brent, good to see you. I've still got a couch waiting for you. Just looking at what I've done so far. Turning it on and off so I get a sense of where I've come and where I want to go. Okay. So right now, this is just kind of an environment, but it's a very zoomed in environment. That's one thing I want you to think about when you're looking at this. I'm not sure who painted it. I think, is it Dorothy who painted it? I'm not sure. Or Lydia. But it's an environment, yes. It's an extremely zoomed in environment, though. So usually when you think about environment paintings for concept art games, stuff like that, it's usually big zoomed out vistas because they want to get a sense of, like, you know, the buildings that are here, the environment around it, a sense of scale, that kind of thing. With something very zoomed in like this, it's a good exercise to understand, like, if you were to paint a background for a scene that had this, but with very minimal effort, you could turn this into an illustration. Basically, all you would need is some kind of narrative, either a character or something that's under the water or, you know, hiding something in the rock face. Anything like that to give it a sense of story would instantly turn this into an illustration, which, if you're intending to put this in your portfolio and it's not just an exercise, I would highly recommend. You can let me know if that's something you want to do, or if this is purely an exercise in painting rivers and moss, which is totally fine. I'm just not sure what the intent was, so I wanted to bring that up in case you needed help with it. Merging characters and environments. Yeah, it is tough. Taking a look here. I'm going to take my first big sip of black coffee, so wish me luck. Oh, oh, so strong. So strong, so good. I mean, just little things like, I don't know. I'll just talk about it real quick. So, let's see here. So, for example, I'm not saying you should do this, but for instance, if this was a thing that I was going to stick in my portfolio, I would probably have a rock here. You know, just a rock sticking out of the water. I'd have some moss on it. I'd lower this one down so it doesn't clash with it too much. I'd have the water running over it, kind of wash it out a bit. I'd have this down here, and I'd probably do, like, because I love this kind of stuff because I'm like a big kind of classic fantasy guy. I'd probably just do like a little gnome dude standing here, maybe with like a fishing pole, and I'd have like little minnows jumping through the water, little tiny baby fish that maybe he's trying to catch. But instantly, it's an illustration when you do that. And I've put him right on that third and the halfway point. So that's right where the gnome goes to bring your eye in. But instantly it's an illustration the second you do that. And then the other thing about a little gnome is that because he's a gnome, we get to give him a red hat. Or you don't have to, but classic gnomes have red hats. And it would be the only red thing on the whole canvas because everything else is green and blue. So instantly the eye gets to go there. And you're like, oh, okay, that's the focal point. But yeah, that's probably what I'd do. Do a little gnome, catching some baby fish in a stream. That would be my, that would be how I turn this, because it's very zoomed in, so you can't do a big character. This is a very small space that's taking up most of the canvas. So by default, you want a small character. Or you want something hidden in the environment that implies a narrative. But yeah, that's what I would do. Because then you get to, you know, show the kind of peach color of the skin in there, the red of the hat, the blue. And he gets to stand out very nicely and have a little fishing pole sticking out into the water. But, yeah. Purely something I would do. Yeah, you could do that. And if you wanted to bring the dark stuff over, you could maybe do, like, If you wanted to push the narrative even further, if you wanted to push the narrative even further, and you wanted to add a second character, it doesn't need it. It could just be a very serene little gnome fishing. But if you wanted to, over here in the dark parts, you could imply light catching the bottom side of some kind of predatory, eye sort of thing. Something with very yellow eyes, or something with eyes that catch light. You could really push this back into shadow, bring the shadows over more to really obscure this side of the canvas over towards that third, because you'd want it to take up more real estate if it's going to be something important. You could maybe catch the outline of a hand grasping one of these rocks right here, like it's crawling out of this little side cave thing. You could have some moss hanging down in front of it to really push the space that it's inside of back into the canvas. But yeah, you could do some rocks. Some rocks coming down in front of it if you wanted to push it back more. This is all stuff you can do if you want to. It's not necessary, but if you want to make this more of a narrative piece, you can totally do that. Have some fun with it. So I would probably bring the eyes as close in as possible. But yeah, bring them in as close to this third as you possibly can without breaking the composition. Otherwise, they're like way too off to the side. Yeah, that's just a side note. Just a side note. So yeah. Yeah, it's just a matter of like, if you want this to be a portfolio piece that is an illustration as opposed to an environment study. Because this is going to read as a study, even if it's not, because it's so zoomed in. But yeah, you can do a nice, beautifully painted little river, and that's totally fine to stick in your portfolio. If you want it to be an illustration, though, and you want to get more like book and card work and games and stuff like that, adding a little character is all you need to do. Very simple to make it read. So hopefully that makes sense. But yeah. I'll get back to the actual environment for a little bit. Add some bright flora, and then I'll move on to the next piece. So basically, I think the best paintovers, people might disagree, but the format that I like to go for is to give you just enough to show you a new direction and then stop. The point of a paintover isn't to finish the piece for you. It's just to give you a glimpse at what the piece could be and how to maybe take it there. Because if I finished it for you, there'd be no reason for you to go in and finish it. You know what I mean? You just pull elements from the paintover in, and it would be a very, very boring experience. But yeah. Just to give you enough to make it go, oh, okay, this is a direction I could go in if I want to. You want to do freelance concept illustration once you build a decent portfolio? Okay, cool. Well then, yeah, I would definitely add a narrative to the piece. It doesn't have to be a gnome. If you don't like gnomes, it's fine. It can be something else, but yeah. Yes, I'll post this this paintover as well as this video on the forum. They will both be there. Another thing you could do for narrative, I'm just thinking now, just thinking about things you could do. I like this little sweet spot that's created here where I put the gnome, so I'm going to work with that again. You could do some weird turtle who's got a lot of personality and character. Some just big, weird, never-ending story sort of turtle. who's hanging out here, and he's just sitting there, and he's kind of blending in with the rocks, but he's catching enough light to sort of jump out. And, water could be running over him and catching around his head and that kind of thing to obscure him a bit more. But this could be like his place. Like, you could make it very clear that this piece is all about this turtle, and he's having a good time, and he's living in the water here. But even that's narrative. That's like, oh, okay, he's a character. Once you push him enough, he's a character. That's all it takes, is to just have a character in the piece. But, yes, I do have a turtle named Ulysses. He's my pet. So congratulations to you, Dorothy, for knowing that I have a pet turtle named Ulysses. You've done it. You've discovered the secrets of my personal life. Just going to give this gnome a beard. I'm going to provide two files when I put this up. I'll give you the one with the gnome, and I'll give you one without the gnome. So, yeah. Oops, didn't mean to touch my flow. I'm going to keep the compositional lines there very faintly so you can see the placement. So let's see, I might do one more thing and then I'm going to move on to the next one. I'm using a chalky brush for this paint over because I noticed that the brush that you're using to actually paint it is kind of chalky, so I wanted to match it as much as I could. So, let's see. The last thing you could do, if you want to, again, this is all suggestions, I'm not saying you have to, is to add some actual growth in the foreground to really sell the space. So around the edges, maybe something that grows very frequently near running water is ferns. I'm going to do some ferns that are sort of hanging in the front to imply that, maybe there's another rock that's even closer that these are growing off of. Something like that. Make them catching a little bit of light. Ferns are cool because they're basically arrows, and you can use them to really move the eye around as much as you want because they're basically saying, look here or don't look here. Curving them up this way means they're not important. Bending them in towards the middle means they are. Oh, hey, I didn't know Dorothy was Amory. Or maybe I did know that from a while back. Nice to see you, Amory. And you're not being intrusive, I was just joking. The things I've revealed publicly on this live stream go much farther than a pet turtle. It's fine. But yeah, good to see you, Amory. I know I'm not on here as much these days. I've been extremely busy, but luckily Noah brought me on to do some crits for Artcamp, so it's a good reason to do some paintovers again, which is something I love to do, really love to do. It's probably my favorite thing to do. I just never have time anymore because of client work. Never-ending client work, which, don't get me wrong, is a good problem to have. It's just, I do miss the live streams, I miss the crits, I miss the fun stuff. But yeah, so... How long did it take me to sustain myself fully on artwork? About 2 years. That's kind of the standard answer. When I got out of art school, I did nothing, literally nothing but work for I'm on year 3 right now. But yeah, I did nothing but work for the first 2 years, and then I was slowly making money, and then that money slowly added up to enough where I didn't have to worry about borrowing money or anything like that, or asking for help. It took about 2 years to get to that point. But yeah, so I went to art school for 4 years, learned absolutely nothing, and now I'm on my 3rd year out of art school, and that's where I'm at. Yeah, I didn't learn anything. Didn't learn anything usable in art school, unfortunately. I went to one of the bad ones. They're not all bad, but some of them are a big waste of money. And unfortunately, the one I went to was in that category. No, 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 no. Not going to art school is actually a benefit, unless you're going to like a really, really good art school, of which there's only maybe 3. Um, so I wouldn't worry about that one, Lydia. You can self-teach pretty much everything. You can either go fully self-trained, you can go the downloads route, you can do programs like Artcamp, you can... I mean, there's people who've never taken a class on anything in their life that are phenomenal. There's people who've only used downloads. There's people who swear by the atelier method. I mean, the nice thing about art, especially the kind that we do, is that there's so many ways to do it that there's an equal amount of ways to learn it. So, I mean, really, the amount of resources at your disposal aside from going to college is astronomically high. There's more ways to learn now than there ever have been in the history of this industry. That's just a fact. So, like, take advantage of that. Either self-teach and get downloads and practice like crazy, or go to an atelier, or whatever works for you. It's different for everybody. Some people swear by some things, some people don't. But yeah, no. Going to the idea of needing to go to school to get a career is absolutely false. You don't need to do that. Guess Skull and Shark is not a topic Dan wants to discuss. Well, no. This is a paint over stream. I'm not going to talk about personal projects and things I do with the lovely David. But yeah. I'm trying to decide if I want to stop and move on to the next one, or if I want to keep going with this. I'm trying to decide. There's one thing that's bothering me compositionally that I might try to fix. I guess I'll just talk about it, and then I'll move on to the next one, because fixing it might be a little, that would be kind of heavy surgery. You've got an awkward thing going on compositionally that I'm going to use a red line on to point out. So let's take a look here. So basically, what your composition was essentially this. It was just a diagonal line of the river. What I've tried to do is make it more of a V by adding that side channel like that. So now the composition's a bit stronger because it's got this triangle balance in it. So the thing that's bothering me right now is that you've basically got a shelf here where the water bends, and then another shelf like here. And the thing that's bothering me is that this middle one is so much taller and meatier than this bottom one. That it's making the bottom one feel like it's hugging the bottom of the canvas a bit. It's kind of just poo, like it's just pushed down to the bottom a little too much, so it's making like a weird edge tangent thing. I think the easiest way to fix it, I'm gonna try here to fix it very quickly by selecting this out, and just raising it. It just feels a little too ordinary or something. Something about it's bothering me. Let's see. You don't need to take one out. I think you just need to break up the staircase effect. I think that's what it is. I think the way the water's falling just feels very ordinary. It feels very it feels a little too much like a series of right angles. Whereas in water like this, you don't usually see that. You usually see a bunch of different things where the water's just kind of bouncing down off of all of it. Um, so give me a second here, and I'm gonna try to do that. Yeah, the right side does feel very vertical. What I'm gonna do is gonna bring this not over that much. Maybe like here. Break that up. And I'm going to start cutting into the rocks a bit more and adding some, okay, that's what it is. Got it. Sorry. Sometimes when things bother you, you don't know how to articulate it till you start putting paint down, and then it jumps out. Alright, so I'm going to start hiding some rocks. That's what it is. It's that everything on the edges is very rocky and bulky, and then when you get into the waterfall itself, everything's flat and plainer. And, yeah, that's what it is. So, I'm gonna do this. Kind of imply that the rocks are coming down into it, and then the water's going over them. And just integrate the sides with the middle a bit more. And hopefully that'll be all it needs. The reason why the water flow on the lower shelf feels awkward is because it's basically a staircase, and the bottom part of the staircase is smaller than the top two. So it's like pushed way, way in, and it's feeling very weird. That's what I'm trying to fix right now, is just by breaking up those even staircase shapes as much as I can. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Right angles automatically in nature imply that it was man-made. Right angles are something that are extremely rare in nature. Almost non-existent. Okay, I think the next big thing I'm gonna do is make a shelf here that comes down. Hopefully this works. So yeah, paintovers are a thing that are kind of weird that I enjoy because a very simple piece might take a very long paintover, and a very complex piece might be a very short paintover. Everything needs something different, and every artist who does a paintover is going to see different things that they think it needs. So yeah, it's just kind of like there's no formula to it. It's always going to be something that's totally fresh and unique. So it's always like, I don't know. I'm always excited to do them because it's completely different every time. Even something like anatomy, depending on what the piece is, can be extremely varied in paintovers, depending on what the character is, what the piece is trying to convey. So yeah. Okay, so show some rocks under here. And so what I'm doing is I'm trying to, instead of these straight lines you have, I'm trying to break up those shapes by making it look like there's actual rocks, like the ones that are on the sides, running underneath the water. That's really all I'm doing right now. But yeah, you get the idea. Yeah, the best way to do it, it's kind of weird, but I think the most effective way to do something like this is to just do a quick drawing of where the rocks under the water would actually be, and then just kind of that's like sort of what I just did with the one on the front, and you can just kind of make the water wrap around that shape. Once you know where it is, it's easy to kind of plot how the water is going to react. Okay, I'm gonna stop soon just because I'm spending a little too much time because I've already said everything I need to say for you to go and fix this. Now I'm starting to cross that line into me trying to finish a piece where I want to like just get it done. It's really hard to cross that line and not like want to keep going because now I'm actually enjoying fixing it and I want to like see it done and like, but that's not the point of a paint over. So you gotta catch yourself when that happens and back out. And back out. And go, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. That's it. Oops. Anyway, yeah, that's basically my crit. I hope that helped. Let's see. I hope it made sense. I hope it helped. I hope you can take this to the next level with that. I'd love to see what you do with it. As always, please feel free to show me when you're done. I'd love to see where it goes. But yeah, So if you want to add some narrative, toss that gnome in. If you don't want narrative, keep it as an environment. So what I'm going to do is merge all of the things that I just did, and I'll click it on and off. And this is the paint over. Would you like one with the gnome and one without the gnome, or do you care? Let me know, because I can do that for you if you'd like. As a matter of fact, I will. Duplicate layer, and then merge down. Alright, so now you got 3 files. They'll be on there tonight. So you've got yours, the paint over, and the gnome. And then, let's see here. One last thing, because I'm never satisfied with these. And yeah, if you guys, I mentioned this when I was talking to Sean, I'm going to mention it again. If you guys don't have Color and Light by James Gurney, you should really go get it. It's going to help your work immensely. So I'm just taking an overlay layer right now, set to a very dark value, and I'm going into the parts where I feel like more stone should be showing up, more shadow should be falling, and I'm just washing over those to kind of break up the regularity of the white in the water and kind of force the eye down to the sweet spot. I'm going to go over some of the moss with it too to imply dappled light and shadows in the environment. Set it to a lower opacity just to kind of pull the eye into the center a bit more. Yeah. Make it feel a bit more, you know. There we go. That's right. Okay, on to the next piece. On to the next piece. All right. That's right, Brent. Washing over those. All about the puns, man. Okay, so, yeah, let me zoom out here. Take a look at it. Alright. So, next, let's take a look. Sorry, I have a very messy desktop. Going to talk about this piece that was submitted. So let's take a look. Oh, also, the files I put up on the forum might be slightly different than the ones you saw here. Sometimes when I put a file up, I catch something that I missed in the paint over, and I might edit it. It's usually nothing big, but yeah, you'll see the files regardless. So, with this piece, it's basically the two big things are anatomy and then light and color, which for a piece like this, light and color are kind of the same thing because it's pretty much it's a value and saturation problem. I'm going to try and fix as much of that as I can with just an overlay layer. Uh, oh, this is also you. Well, you're getting a double crit just because the thing about paintovers that I want people to understand. Think about your own work when you see a crit of somebody else's stuff, because a lot of these are going to be applicable to pieces that other people are going to do. Um, so let's take a look here in the paintover thread. I just want to look at what else has been submitted. I'm going to do the superhero piece after this. Okay, there's some other stuff here. Okay, there's some other environment stuff, so I will talk about that. I'll tell you what, I'll give you a quick crit on this girl, and then I'll jump in, I'll do two more, and that way it'll be a little more fair. There's not that much stuff in the crit, in the paintover section yet. So, like, seriously, anybody watching this on YouTube when I put it up, or anyone listening now, if you're in Artcamp, I'm literally here to work for you. Noah brought me on to do this kind of stuff because he knows I love doing it, and I haven't had a chance to for a long time. So yeah, like if you have anything you want me to take a look at, I'm here to serve. So by all means, put it up, and I will do my best to get to it. Put it on the paintover thread specifically, not in the crit forum. If you want something painted over specifically, put it on the paintover thread. If we run out of things in the paintover thread for me to do paintovers on, I'm going to go into the crit section and manually pull people's pieces out and go, okay, we're going to talk about this. But I don't want it to come to that. You guys should want to get feedback on stuff, specific stuff that you're having problems with. So let me know, because I'd love to take a look and help. That's what I'm here to do. So it looks like the light in this piece is kind of coming from above, but at the same time, you haven't really implied a direction yet. I'm going to make it coming slightly from above just because I feel like that's what the intent was, but it's not really, right now there's not really a direction of light. There's sort of light that's implied, but there's not really a direction, so I'm still on an overlay layer. I'll fix the colors after. I'm just using an overlay layer to carve out the light and the shadow shapes because they're very useful for that. Setting an overlay layer to white and black basically means, the colors you're painting with, basically makes the colors you've put down brighter and a bit more bleached when you go over them with white, and darker and a bit more rich when you go over them with black. Yes, the format is there's one paint over thread, and everything you want painted over, as well as the paintovers that I do, will go into that thread. So you can post in it multiple times. There's only going to be one paint over thread. If it gets confusing and people want it changed, I'll do a submissions thread and a results thread, but for the amount of people we have in the group, I think we'll be totally okay just having the one thread. But yeah, I might change that later, but for now, paintover thread is your one-stop shop for everything paintover. So just see what I'm doing right now, like I'll zoom in a bit more. I'm really just going in with an overlay and just trying to find the planes where the light's going to fall, if the light's coming from the top down. So I'm just going in, catching edges of things where the light's going to hit. The nose is probably going to be the brightest spot. Down here, around the curve of the lips. Some reflected light on the bottom of the chin. Some light here on the shoulders. Definitely some light here. This is coming forward though, so you want it to recede. Dappled light like in a forest? Okay. I didn't get that she was in a forest from this beat. Is she supposed to be laying down? Is that what it is? Is she laying down on the ground? I just read it as an artistic thing where her hair was blowing up in kind of this weird underwater zero gravity thing. But if you want it to be in a forest, yeah, I can crit it that way. It's not going to change much of what I've started to do, so let me know. Okay, cool. Alright, so I'll crit it as if she's in a forest then. Oh, no, by all means, if that's your intention. Okay, so if she's in a forest and she's on the ground, the very first thing that I want to do is get some actual color in here, some green. Yeah, some warm green to actually make it feel like grass or something like that. It doesn't have to be super saturated, but it's got to be enough to show that it's because right now it's very muted and gray, so it didn't read as grass to me. It just kind of read as like a painted background that, you know, was just kind of there to be a background. I didn't get like a real stamp of an environment from it. If that makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look at quick reference photo. There we go. I'm going to post this here. This is the reference that I will be using to do the floor of the forest and to pull colors from. So see all the growth and stuff? That's like what I'm talking about. So what this is going to effectively do, whether or not you intended it, you're doing a very classical thing here. You're giving her a halo. That might not have been intentional, but basically you're creating a circle of light or lit up background around her head that implies kind of a glowing halo effect. That's what this is compositionally. So that means that the things closer to her face are going to be more detailed, more colorful, more lit up, and the things farther away are going to be less detailed, darker, and less important. Because you want the eye to zoom in right where you want it. So this is like Renaissance 101. Look here, because there's a halo. Very, very classical art thing to do. So let's get rid of this weird outline, or at least some of it. And then let's do a little bit of drop shadow in the stuff around her. Okay, I'm going to switch my brush here real fast to paintbrush because it's not as chalky, it's a bit smoother, it's going to let me draw things better. And I'm just going to start implying leaves, growth, the skin color is very bleached, but I'll get to that. Also, the red in her dress can be pumped up quite a bit, which I will also get to. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a bit, and I'm going to start rendering some forest stuff. It's okay to start with, it's totally fine to start with lines. It's totally fine. Look, it's more ferns. This is the fern crit. Your crit for all of your artwork is to add more ferns. Congratulations. Don't you feel lucky that you get to paint all these ferns in all of your pieces? Just kidding. You don't have to, but ferns are cool, and she's in a forest, so. I'm gonna put some, can't decide. I think I'm gonna put some flowers in here. Not, you know, like big, cheesy, huge things of flowers, but definitely some little, like, white flowers, like the kind that grow on moss. Just here and there to break up the green. So what I'm going to try to do, without making it too patternistic and regular, let me zoom out and show you. I'll grab a yellow to do this. What I'm going to try to do, basically, if you follow me, is here's the portrait focus of the girl. Here is the radius of the halo around her. And then with the ferns, I'm going to try and do a very implied, almost sunburst thing, which is going to reinforce the halo and kind of make little arrows that point into the face. That's going to be kind of what I go for, is to make this sort of a sunburst. No, the shadow on her neck's not going to be long because the light's not coming from the top anymore. But I didn't know she was laying down until after I painted that, so I'll get to it, don't worry. I thought she was standing up and her hair was doing like an underwater thing, but then I was told by the artist that she's supposed to be laying in a forest, so we will get to that after we build the forest up. Basically, I'm going to make a little environment for her to be laying in, and then I'm going to put her in that environment. That's the plan. if anyone has anything they'd like me to talk about. I'm officially at the point in the Paintover stream where I'm just kind of getting into the zone, so I might get really quiet now. So feel free to prompt some discussion. I'll be happy to talk about whatever. Oh yeah, you might have. I might have just missed it, Lydia. I'm sorry. It might have been in the forum, and I just didn't see it. It's no big deal either way. We'll get it done. I'm just turning these out to force that sort of sunburst look. Yeah. Huh. You think green's a scary color. I can't even see half of it. I know what you mean, though. I'll I'll show you a personal piece I've been working on that's oddly if I can find it. Yeah. Let me see here. I know what you mean about green is basically what I'm trying to say. Here you go. Here's a personal piece that I've been slowly trying to get done in between client work of this character, and I'm trying to use as many different kinds of green as possible, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. So it is a nightmare. So I'm going to do some implied little shadows underneath these ferns, just to show that the light's coming from top down up where we are now. Basically, the viewer's the light source, because we're looking down into this forest scene now. So, no, it's not done. I'm doing a very dumb thing that no one should do. Here's my PSA with my personal work for all of you who know me or are familiar with me. I started a bunch of work that I was really happy with because I wanted to improve my portfolio, and this was a while ago. And then I got offered a big job to go work on a movie for marketing, and I took it, and I worked on that for about 6 months, and then I came out and I said, now I can finish all that personal work I started 6 months ago. Huge mistake. Never do it. 6 months is too long. Just start new work. Being a massive hypocrite. And I'm like, but I can save it. I can save that work. Huge mistake. Don't do it. Get out of there. Save yourself. Alright, so... yeah, exactly. It's like finding old milk in your fridge and being like, I can still cook with this. Nope. Shelf life. Throw it out. Okay. I'm gonna get into the shadows on the actual girl now. And try to resolve that light source problem now that we know that the light is coming from above where we are and not above in terms of top down from her hair. So, number one, I'm going to raise that collarbone because it needs to be raised. Number two, I'm going to raise this shoulder because it needs to be raised. I'm going to thin out this arm because as it comes down here, it should be thinner. I'm going to tuck it in on this end too and just get the proportion down a bit better. See. Again, if you want me to talk about anything in specific, just throw it in the chat. And if I can, I will. How is life? Life's good. I'm doing a lot more personal work. I'm taking on less client work because I saved a good chunk, so that's nice. That's what you want to do. Still doing a good amount of client work for clients that I enjoy, though, so that's good. Keeping the ones you like and filtering out the ones that maybe aren't the best fit. I'm able to do paintovers and crits again because Noah brought me on for Artcamp, which is nice. He knows that I've been missing being able to do this for a while, so he gave me a good incentive to do it. And yeah, I've been traveling a good amount, going down to Florida in a couple weeks, going to upstate New York to hang out with Sean Murray. We're going to do some streams together when I'm over there in the coming weeks. That'll be fun. Yeah, life's been good. Can't complain. I've been working pretty much entirely for the tabletop people that I do Darklands work for. They're definitely my favorite client. I like working with them more than probably all my other freelance. So I've been pretty much exclusively working with them. They keep me very busy. So it's a good thing for me. I'm still going to Ireland. I think I'm going in September, but I haven't booked it yet. I've got some friends from the Crimson Daggers community that live in Ireland who I'm kind of trying to get in touch with to plan the trip with because I need to know like when's a good time to go, all that good stuff. I'm going to start north and drive south in Ireland. That's my plan. I'm not going anywhere specific. I'm going to start north, get a rental car, drive south, spend time with people along the way. That's the goal. I am pumped for the next Bali workshop. I think it's going to be very good. I was able to get Carla to come, and Alejandra reached out to Saskia Goedekunst, and she's going to be there. And yeah, it's going to be a really good time. All people that I really enjoy. And yeah, it's going to be a really good time. If anyone's listening and they are in the Indonesia area or would like to take a vacation to Jimbaran in Bali in November, we will all be there for 2 weeks, teaching and critting and painting over and discussing and having a grand old time. So feel free to come hang out. We will be there. Yeah, it's a good time. It's a really good time. If anyone knows Alejandro Mirabal, he uh, he puts it together with his wife actually, not his girlfriend, his wife Putri, uh, and yeah, it's really really awesome. They really understand how to do a very unique workshop, very unique workshop. It's unlike any other that I've attended. I've been to quite a few, and they do a very very interesting, unique take on the workshop and that model that I think a lot of people are probably going to emulate in the future, where it's a smaller group that comes in and it's more focused on personal development, where people can actually learn something one on one with the instructors over the course of 7 day period. So it's longer classes with less students, and it's pretty cool. But basically, we teach a 6 or 7 hour class every day, Monday through Friday, and each class is it starts with an hour to 2 hours of crits with all the instructors, and then it's a specialty class from one of the instructors. They get a whole day. Everybody gets a whole day. Me and Dave split our day because we basically run it like a Crimson Daggers live event, where we do a discussion, challenges, painting demos. We do open Q&A. It's basically just like being in the room for a collection of the live streams. So it's a good time. Yeah, I understand Bali is not the easiest place to get to if you live in the United States, but that's why they do it, because everybody in Bali can't come to the workshops that are in California for the exact same reason. So that's why. That's why it is the way it is. Yeah, the monkeys are great. I painted a Bali monkey 2 days ago. It was fun. So the hand, best advice I can give you for the hand is actually to just reference your own hand. That's like the default hand advice. Basically, this girl's hand, it's a little too stiff. It's a little too wonky. Um, you want it to be kind of delicate, but hands are tough. So don't feel bad about that. You'll get it. It's just hands are tough. I'm gonna make her dress catch a little bit more light. Towards the top here. Did anybody see Maleficent yet? Is it good? I'm sure the artwork is good because Michael Cucce, I can never pronounce it. I know he worked on part of it, so I'm sure the stuff in it looks great. I just have not seen it. I figured the story was meh. I figured it was basically just we don't have the rights to make a Wicked movie, so what do we have that's close to the Wicked Witch of the West? Let's do it that. Let's do it that way. Let's see. Dan, how hard was it for you to get your foot in the door in the industry to start finding jobs? Uh, I mean, it's hard. It's hard for everybody. Basically, I kind of talked about it earlier in the stream. I was in school for 3 years, and I thought that school would maybe lead to something. They kept saying like anyone who's been to an art school in America probably knows what I'm talking about. They kept saying like, oh, the stuff you do your freshman through junior year is really arbitrary, but when you get to senior year, you get to do your thesis, and they really let you off the chain, and that's where you make your portfolio. So I was stuck in art school because my parents wanted me to go, and I couldn't really drop out, or I would have lost housing and everything, and it would have just been a nightmare. So I was in that trap that a lot of you might be familiar with, and I got to senior year and I was like, okay, time to make my concept art illustration portfolio. And they were like, well, no. Concept art and illustration aren't legitimate art forms, and you need to do something meaningful and political, and don't you want to change the world? And I was like, okay, fuck this. And I stopped caring about my grades. I had a 4.0 up till that point. I was on the chancellor's list. I had all these academic merits, and I was like, okay, well, they know I'm a good student, so I'm just going to stop listening to my professor because he doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm just going to make a portfolio for illustration jobs that I want to get, kids' books, video games, that kind of thing. And if I do really, if I work really hard and I produce good work, they can't fail me. So let's see what happens. So I started doing that. I spent the whole final year I was in school doing nothing but trying to make up for 3 years of wasted time, trying to teach myself basic fundamentals to make a portfolio. It wasn't entirely successful, but it also wasn't an entire failure. The portfolio I made my senior year of school got me my first job in the industry. Well, not my first job. I'd been doing freelance to pay my way through college for a while. But it got me my first published job doing some cover work for a comic book called The Perhapanauts, which not a huge name or anything, but it was cool to actually get published work. And then after that, I just kind of hit the freelance path that a lot of you are familiar with, where it's just you study all the time, you post everywhere, and you send out a lot of emails, and you hope something hits. And it took a while. I would get jobs here and there. It would be enough to maybe, pay my rent but not cover groceries or utilities, that kind of thing. And then after about 2 years of solid work, I started making enough money to, afford all my expenses. And it's tough. I don't think anyone has an easy time getting into the industry. You just have to have the portfolio, and the only way to get the portfolio is to work really hard. And my portfolio is not great right now. It's pretty good for a medium, mid-tier guy. I'm nothing special, but I was able to get my first big job last year doing Transformers stuff, and when that goes in my portfolio, that's going to be a big help. But it's making a living is tough when you're doing creative. It's tough for everybody. But yeah. Let's see. Sorry, I might have missed some stuff in the chat. I'm just going to keep painting. But yeah, so I'm still very much I'm a professional in terms of it's my profession and I'm paying my bills, but I've still got a long way to go. And I'm totally okay with that. Actually, looking forward to it. So I'm really excited about being able to take some time off this summer. I have enough money to actually study more, work less, get back to the improvement ladder, that kind of thing. But yeah. What college did I go to? I went to the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth, the Dartmouth location. Um, it is not a good school to go to for illustration. If you want to do editorial illustration for like newspapers about political events and stuff, it's actually a very good school to go to. But if you want to do any kind of children's book, video game, movie, any of that, it's an extremely bad school to go to. They don't teach any of that. They'll tell you that they do when you go in for the interview, because they told me they would let me, but no. Nope. So don't go there. Not that you would, unless you were living in Massachusetts, which I don't think any of you are, so you're safe. If you're thinking about going to art school, the best advice I can give you is to look up graduates of the program you're going into and to ask them questions about, was it worth the money? Was it beneficial? Do you have a job? What is your job? How did the school help you get the job? And really, really do your research. You owe it to yourself to do that. Okay. Sorry, I'm just kind of getting into render mode and getting off track here. Let me check my time. Alright, that's about what I thought. I went to the University of Massachusetts in Dartmouth. That is the school, for those of you that did not hear. Alright. In general, is the stream working okay for you guys, or is there starting to be a problem? Sometimes live stream just decides it's gonna lag out of nowhere. And it's like, well, I guess you're done streaming today. And it just makes that decision for me. Okay, cool. Yeah, live stream likes to determine what I'm gonna do. A lot. It's really the only problem I have with live stream, is it's just like, well, I guess you're done. At random. Sorry, just looking at what I've done so far versus what needs to be done. Yeah, of course. You can add, shades of blue, shades of yellow to the leaves. Actually, I should ask the question for anybody watching on YouTube that isn't reading the chat. Would it be visually correct to add more colors than just green to the leaves? Yes, of course. Leaves come in all shades of green. I'm going to go in with a color layer and an overlay layer at the end and kind of try to balance some colors out. I'm just trying to, like, get it to look forest flory right now. Get the halo thing to actually reach out to the edges of the canvas and look a little more believable. But yeah, totally. There are infinite shades of green in nature that leaves take. Okay. I'm just going to quickly pencil in some clutter, some other leaves and things receding in the shadow parts, some moss patterns and things like that to just imply that it's not just a circle of ferns, it's actually a bunch of flora that's gradiating out. Just a question for Lydia. Is this more what you had in mind in terms of forest floor? I just want to make sure this is working for you as I keep going forward here. I mean, there's all different. When I say there's all different kinds of greens, Black Lotus, I'm saying that you can virtually put almost any color into green, and it can still work in a forest. You can have greens that feel very orange and warm. You can have greens that feel very blue and cool. You can have greens that, you can almost you can have dead leaves that are turning red that still have, like, strains of green in them down closer to the stem. There's all kinds of stuff you can do. All kinds of stuff. I feel like I need to add some highlights in the hair after I get some more. The hair's still very, very dark. Yeah, that's a good reference you posted up. I like, let me go find something I love. Something I always look at for green. There it is. Yeah, there we go. Something for green that I love. This is really, really extreme, but I like how extreme it is. If you look at, I'll pull it up so people can see it on YouTube. This is a painting by Saskia Gudekunst. And obviously, it's in the extreme of warm and cool green to the point of almost being neon in some places, but I really, really like the mood you get with that. All these cool leaves and all these warm, it's just really nice. And then the super, super blue ones that are pushed way, way into the back. It's really nice. I'm going to bring in a secondary green right now. It's on the cooler side for some leaves, hugging the exterior of our halo effect. So yeah, if you're watching this and you're part of Artcamp and you would like some in-depth paint over and discussion about portfolio pieces you might not know how to finish, personal work you just don't know what to do with, or just a piece where something's bothering you and you just can't figure out what it is, toss it in the paint over thread and I'll be happy to discuss it. I'm going to start doing these every day for the rest of the duration of the art camp, and if your piece is in there, I will get to it. So if this is something you'd like, if you think it'll help, or if you just want another pair of eyes on something you'd like to finish and have in your portfolio, by all means, throw it up in there, and I will get to it. This is where I get silent, and I drink my black coffee slowly. What did I think of the Viper versus the Mountain duel? Well, spoiler alert, I don't want to talk about Game of Thrones because tons of people probably haven't seen it and don't want to hear about it. Sorry, I read all the books. I love the show. I just don't want to spoil it for anyone listening who maybe hasn't read the books or seen the show and is interested in doing that. I will say, this isn't a spoiler of any kind. It was almost 100% accurate to the book, so I was very happy about that. There's only one thing that was missing that was in the book, and it was kind of unimportant, so it doesn't make a big deal that they cut it. Other than that, it was exactly how it was written. It was very satisfying. The actors did a very good job. The sets were beautiful. Yeah, it was great. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, apologies to anyone who the stream is freezing for. Live stream is notoriously finicky. So it'll work really well for some people. It won't work really well for other people. It's just a thing. I can't control it. I'm streaming at the lowest possible setting because I've learned the hard way that streaming in high def means people can't watch it because it makes it so incredibly choppy that it's just impossible. So I apologize if it's being weird for you. I can't do anything else to help you though. Oh, and also on the paintover thread, this is kind of a small deal, but it might make a big difference. If you have images that are in a decent resolution, like in a file size that's above 1,000 pixels one way at 300 DPI, don't give me like huge, ridiculous files, but definitely give me something good size because in this piece and others that I've critted, when I start zooming in and actually trying to do detail stuff, it gets so pixelated so fast that I can't effectively paint it. It becomes a very hard thing to do because the resolution and the image size are very tiny. So feel free to give me a file that's not massive. I don't want 5,000 by 8,000, but give me something workable. Oh, I didn't know there was a size limit. Okay. Well, if you want to link me to a photo bucket, you can do that. Or if you want to, yeah, this is workable. It's a little on the small side, but I can deal with it. So for the hand, I'm just trying to thin it out, make it a bit more dainty. The best thing you can do is literally reference your own hand and look at how it works. I've got these big hairy man hands, so it's not the best idea for me to do it unless you want your lady to look like Sasquatch. But yeah, in general, just ref your hand. Or just cave in and trace it, like Forrest Amell said, and cry about your lack of skill. Solid advice, Forrest. I try to cry once a day. Alright. Sorry, I'm looking at a quick reference here before I jump into the next part. Again, this is where I'm going to start getting quiet. I can only apologize so many times. Ask away. You can ask anything you want. When I'm by myself and I'm not talking to somebody else on the stream, there's a certain point where I just get quiet. That's just what happens. So, yeah, we're here now. Have I finished Dark Souls 2? You know what? I certainly did. I finished it twice. I don't play games much at all anymore, like most people doing this. I just don't have time. But Dark Souls 2, I actually made time for, and I played a lot of it. Let's see. I asked earlier, what's your number one mistake when starting a new sketch? I can tell you exactly what it is. I work very stiff and I don't loosen up. It's something I have a big problem with. I did this drawing yesterday, and it's just so stiff. It's like, I don't know. Like I get really sucked into details and little tiny stuff instead of important things like big gestures. And yeah, it's a very hard thing to get out of for me. So I start these drawings and I just immediately jump into like little tiny stuff that isn't as important. So yeah, it's that's my number one problem. Definitely, definitely, definitely that. I'm gonna use an overlay layer to start dappling in some light and getting her skin a bit darker. Do I do gestures? Gestures I usually do before I start the sketch. I'll usually scribble a lot before I start drawing something, and the gestures are part of the scribbling process. But yeah, I do them. I'll scribble a ton and I'll try to find what I want it to look like, and then I'll go in and start the final after that. Well, it's one of those things where it's hard to understand because it's deceptively simple. When someone gives you the advice to loosen up, what they're literally saying is that you need to loosen up. It's, hold the pencil lighter, don't hold it firm. Big things where you hold the outside of the pencil to get, like, big shapes down instead of holding it down by the point and doing nitty gritty stippling things. Like, it's literally just loosen up. It's deceptively simple advice to the point where people go, what does that even mean? It means loosen up. It means don't get sucked into details, which is definitely my number one problem. The second I start drawing, it's all about the details. Lydia, are you still in here? And is this looking anything like what you had in mind? Cool. This is where I apologize. Her skin's gonna be a little tricky for me because of the range of my color blindness. I'm gonna do what I can here, but it's gonna be a little odd. Hopefully not that much, but I know she's very gray and very bleached right now. I'm trying to remedy that, but it's tough. You get kind of a peach here. Yeah, no. Well, it's weird for me because this is a relative color thing. So I talked a little bit about this on the stream with Sean the other day. When you put something like a pink or a red straight against a green, like she is right now, it forces everything into the extremes. So because the complementary color is right there, a very gray, desaturated red looks more red than it actually is because the complement is forcing it into the extreme. It's making it pull more red out of that gray than is actually there. So like I have a very hard time seeing that color anyway. So I'll have a gray down there and I'll think that it's much greener than it is. And that's where the problem happens, is because that complement is kind of slingshotting it into this extreme that isn't actually there. Now I'm going to kind of just play with, I don't know how extreme I want the light to be dappled or how extreme you want the light to be dappled, but I'm going to start playing with that. And then I'll do a couple quick things and wrap up the crit. We're in the quiet zone now. We're in the whisper zone. Oops. There's my little compositional thing. Anybody have any questions, concerns, topics of discussion? Anything at all, feel free. I didn't watch the 2014 RoboCop movie because I knew it wasn't going to be as good as the first one, so I didn't bother. Didn't bother. I'm done with remakes. So sorry. I don't have a ton of experience doing dappled light. I'm just trying to get something down that reads as it. Just something down with some decent cast shadows that make some degree of sense. It might be a little extreme, but I'd rather do too much than not enough. Trying to get some like real sunlight yellow in here. I'm going to turn everything off and turn it back on again. So I'm almost done. Again, I could work this over for hours and hours and hours, but paintovers aren't about finishing the piece for you. They're about giving you just enough to take the piece in a new direction yourself. So that's what I gotta try to do for you. And the last thing I'm going to do is something we mentioned way back at the beginning, which is little flowers. I'm going to look at moss flowers. Someone like the Gurney Journey Dappled Light. Yeah. There you go. Gurney knows, man. There's nothing I can tell you about Dappled Light that Gurney could not tell you a million times better. So, I might not even keep the flowers. I think I'm going to get rid of them. I thought they'd look good, but I think they're actually distracting. Bigger flowers might work, but again, that's time I don't need to spend on this. That's a decision you can make on your own if you think it serves the piece. You should resolve that arm that fades off into nothingness. Anyway, so there's that. I'm going to grab my soft round right here. I'm going to do an overlay. I'm going to take a blue, probably like this. I'm going to turn my opacity way down. Around the outside, I'm going to hug some blue. want some shadows on the inside, I'm going to hug a little bit of blue over here to cool this off, and here to cool that off. I'm going to grab my white. And let's see how that looks. Okay, so this is my paint over for this piece. This is going for a while. I'm going to try and do 2 more. I might only do 1 more. It depends how much energy I've got. But this is my paint over for this girl laying in a forest. Hopefully this helps. Yeah. Let me know. I will stick it on the forum, of course. Let's see if there's one other thing I can do. The way it's sinking totally into black is a little weird for me. I try to bring some of that edge back. Cool. All right. There we go. That's my final. Okay. Yes, I will upload this to YouTube and I will post it to the Artcamp forum so you have the files. So no worries there. Even if you leave now, this will be totally accessible, so don't worry about that. Okay, so that was number 1. This was number 2. And number 3. So, I'm still not sure if this is a real superhero. If anyone in the chat knows if it is, please let me know. But yeah, I'm going to go look at some quick reference and then I'm going to get started on this. Just some quick color reference. You can post the link, I don't care. I don't have much new work on there because of wonderful NDAs, but yeah, you can go ahead. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is bump the contrast on this, then I'm going to do a level adjustment to also bump the contrast. just to get some richer colors out of it. Oh, okay. So, let's see. I'm just going to start painting into this. The anatomy is a little wonky, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. And again, if this is a real superhero girl that I've just never heard of, I apologize. As far as I know, this is a made-up superhero girl. So if I do things to the costume that are non-canon and it's a real superhero lady, I apologize. So the first thing was the length of the neck and the direction of the torso were making the boobs look a little dropped down. They felt unnecessarily low. So I'm raising those up, and I'm raising up the insignia on the chest to compensate for that. I'm going to go in and paint out some of what I just did. Is there someone in the chat called Darren, or are you talking to me? You'd be surprised how many people have called me Darren. I don't know why. It's a weird thing. I think it's like D. Warren or something. I don't know. It's a thing that happens often. How am I finding Artcamp? It's cool. I like that it's kind of user defined and instructor defined, because this is the kind of stuff that I really want to do, and I think this is where I'm best suited for helping people improve their stuff. Like 100%, this is what I'm better at doing, and what I think you'll get more out of from me. So I like that Noah's totally okay with me just kind of doing this. And yeah, I mean, I'm putting in X amount of hours every week and making sure that I get to as many people as possible. But I like that it's a well-rounded group of people. I like that all the instructors that are on board have different specialties. It's cool. I'm liking it. I'm trying to still figure out, in terms of like a schedule, what's the best way to handle it. I'd like to, like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I'd like to do it for an hour and a half every day and just do paint over and feedback on portfolio stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to be doing. I think I'm just going to do daily paint overs and just give you guys direct, what to look out for in your, basically what you should take away from this is the stuff I'm pulling and I'm telling you to improve on in this is what you should be focusing on in your studies. So yeah. I am... Okay. I don't know what this hand is... Oh! Okay. Okay. This is the index finger, this is the thumb. Okay, I got it. That was weird for a minute. Sorry. It's kind of low res, which is fine. It's just I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Alright, so I don't know who this character is really, but I'm going to start editing the costume in a couple small ways to hopefully improve the read. So I'm going to take a black and take a white, and hopefully what I think is going to work, because right now she has the big problem with this piece right off the bat that I'm going to start working on now is that everything is pretty much the same color. The clouds, the colors in the costume, the skin tone, everything is in this weird beige orange fleshy zone where it's sort of just like everything is just kind of there. There's not really any major complement. There's some blue in the background, but there's not a lot. And that's the thing is like, you know, the costume isn't jumping out because the boots are basically the same value and the same color as the background that they're put upon. So, you know, this is about, you know, it's like what's the piece about? This is about this girl leaping into the sky. You know, like that's what it is. It's about flight. It's about energy. It's about power. Like that's what this is. So right off the bat, you want it to feel like she's in midair. You want her to jump out, and you want the background to recede, where it's like she's, you know, she's leaping and bounding. It's the Superman thing, you know. So that's the first thing I'm going to work on. Is number one, because those clouds are so far away from her, and she's jumping out so much. She really needs some major contrast. So I'm going to lighten these up like crazy. I know it's fun to render clouds. Trust me, I know. But she needs to be launching off that background. And the quickest way to make her launching off that background is by using value. So lighter values in the distance, brighter values in the front. Dark values in the front, and yeah, she'll start coming off the page a lot more once we get that worked in. Let me grab my my paintbrush. Cool. I'm also going to get some cools in here. Slowly work up some cools. So again, if anyone's just joining us or has forgotten, you can ask anything you want in the chat, and I will get to it. So feel free. So I'm basically darkening the costume to more of a red instead of like a fleshy pink, just because she needs to jump off the page a bit more. I don't really know why there's this second cloud thing above her. I don't really get it. I'm I'm gonna try and erase it and see if it improves the comp or not. I'm not entirely sure, but it's very, it's just kind of there, and it's kind of hugging the top of her head, which is making like a weird tangent. That's a shit blue. Let's just see what this looks like. Well, if you keep the clouds, I basically think the clouds need to come down a bit more. That's what it is. It's not that it needs to necessarily be blue, it's that the clouds need to come down. I don't really know what those clouds are doing, though. It's kind of a weird thing where you've got these, like, fluffy, frosting, fantasy cumulonimbus clouds all over the bottom, and then suddenly at the top it's like this flat sheet of, like, hurricane clouds coming in. I don't really understand what's going on. I don't know if whoever painted this is in the chat, but, yeah. Sorry, I'm still looking for the right way to handle this. Yeah, I'll keep the clouds. I don't really know what they're doing, though. They're just kind of... yeah. They're hugging the top of her head, which I'm gonna fix by... kicking her hair way out. Probably dropping them down a bit. Let's take a look here at some stuff. Okay. I suddenly feel extremely alone. Is anyone listening still? Hanging around? I know we've been doing this for a while now. I just want to make sure people are still here. Hello. Cool. Well, hello everybody. I'm going to try and break up the monochromatic look of these clouds by adding in some blue and some cools into the shadow sides. And hopefully that'll resolve some of the weirdness. How do you use color saturation in your pieces? I'm not really sure how to answer that. Saturation is just part of the color choice you make. Unless you're doing like a saturation filter, which I only use if there's like a problem and something's looking very, very sapped or very, very gray. But yeah, like saturation's a choice really. It's how bright do you want the colors, and are the colors not bright enough, or do you want it to be more gray? And yeah, it's just a balance issue. Yeah, this character needs desperately. I'm still trying to resolve trying to respect the artist's choice of making these clouds very stormy and detailed and tumultuous and dramatic, while still making the character pop. The biggest thing to take away from this particular crit is that the character in the foreground needs to be significantly darker than the background. That's the biggest thing. Like, I'm not done yet, but already just from darkening the foreground and lightening the background, saturating it a lot, you can see that the character jumps forward a lot more. Still playing around. So yeah, just in general, guys, if you like the format of what I'm doing here, or if there's something you're not getting that you want to get, I mean, either way, let me know. If this is good, let me know. If you want more of it, let me know. If there's something I'm not doing that you'd like me to do, let me know. I'm very much, you know, here to help on an individual basis. So, by all means, share your thoughts with me. I know it can get a little quiet as we go forward, but that just comes with painting for 4 hours while people listen to you. Gets a little introspective. Yo, James. Yeah. Do I have a cat? No. I'm not a cat guy. I like kittens just fine. Don't like cats. I'm very much a dog person, but I don't have a dog either. James, did you watch Game of Thrones yet? Come on, James, tell me. What's the theory? By all means, share your theory. Well, there's no such thing as secret brushes, because brushes are useless. Uh, you can do cool things with a brush, but only if you have skill. So, a brush is only as good as the hand you put it in. So keep that in mind. It's like saying having a special hammer lets you build a house better than other people. It's like, no, it really comes down to if you know how to build a house. in traditional art, I see people talking about this in the chat, so I'll bring it up. In traditional art, there are brushes that are significantly better than other brushes, but you can still do a great painting with a shitty brush. It's just like, in terms of watercolor and stuff like that, there's really, really nice, expensive brushes that actually do handle the medium better. Like, that's a thing, but in digital art, it's like, you know, it's really not a factor. In traditional art, it's more about, like, what kind of hair absorbs the moisture the best and, you know, handles the smoothest, and, like, it's very, like, you know, there's a difference between fox hair, mink hair, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, people want to look for shortcuts all the time. Brushes are just another thing that people hope is going to make them better without doing hard work. They're like, oh, it must be the brushes. Sure, they did nothing but study for 3 whole years and sacrifice tons of stuff, but it must be that brush that's giving them the edge. Everybody wants to believe in magic. That's really all it comes down to. So another thing about this costume that's kind of weird I'm noticing, it's not exactly clear what the materials are. Could just all be cloth. I'm going to say that for the purposes of my critique, I'm going to turn the red into almost like a latex, something reflective, maybe a rubber, something that allows me to get a little light worked in on the side here. Just something that allows me to kind of give it a bit more life. Whoa, that happened real fast. Yeah, that doesn't look good at all. In certain pieces, the sharpen tool can do cool things, and in other pieces, it just makes everything look like a fucking mess. So obviously, I'm doing little things to make the illustration instantly read faster. I don't have time in a paintover to fix absolutely everything. I'm just trying to make the instant read when you open the file and look at it pop out a bit more, make it clear that she's flying through the clouds, make it feel a bit more heroic, energetic, powerful. Other things to keep in mind, though, when you work on this is that the anatomy is a bit wonky. I fixed a couple things. There's more to fix. Basically, like, making it clear what this arm is doing, because right now it's really not that clear. I almost feel like having it come forward like this would be better. But, or doing the classic where it goes, up and then back. Maybe your hand's right there with the cape doing this. Yeah, actually, do that. 100% do that. I'm going to try and work that into my crit just because. But, yeah, the pose was a little kind of like, it didn't have enough energy. It just felt kind of, she's in the sky, but she's not really like in mid-leap or something. It felt kind of nonchalant. I'm just trying to get the silhouette nice and crisp against the clouds here, so she pops off more. The more blurred edges you have of something that's several thousand feet in front of the background, the more it's going to read that it's several thousand feet in front of the background. She's not up against these clouds, she's significantly far in front of them, so she wants to have a really nice, defined edge. Let's see. I'm going to try and resolve this thing with the arm as fast as I can. Going to be kind of gestural and quick because I'm trying to not spend an incredible amount of time on here. I do have a 4-hour limit, and I don't even want to hit that before Livestream starts deleting my content and this video becomes unsavable. trying to understand how her thing works. Looks like it would be, this would be the armpit. Yeah, okay, I think I got it. Hmm. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to try and keep this gestural in the arm because I'm trying to wrap this up and just give you basics of what it's going to need. So it looks like looks like the things are attached to her gauntlets, I think. So, yeah, I think. So it would probably do something like this. Then we get the nice red underside of that cape. Oops. Stuff underneath. Well, her face is totally wrong anyway, Mora. I'll get to that. Like, the neck is totally wrong. The face is really small. Like, I'll get to it. just keep in mind with paintovers, for people that aren't familiar with like the format of how they usually go. I said this a couple times now, but for anyone who might be joining or isn't familiar, I'm not going to be able to fix absolutely everything with the painting, because to do that would mean that I'm finishing the painting. That's not the goal here. There's going to be, I'm trying to solve the biggest problems first. So that's what it is. It's what is the biggest thing you can fix the fastest to improve the piece. What are the major flaws that are preventing it from looking as good as it could? And for example, in this piece, the biggest thing right off the bat was the levels, because they were screwing up the depth of the space. The second thing was the pose in contrast with the background, because it wasn't clear what kind of action she was doing. And the third thing now is just balancing out little anatomy things, edges, stuff like that. There's other stuff I could do, but I'm just not going to have time to do it. Otherwise, I'd be basically finishing the painting, which is not the goal. So this is what it was. So as you can see, like, the biggest problem was it was washed out. The values were flat. There wasn't a sense of space or drama. This is where I'm taking it, where there's a lot more depth, there's a lot more color, there's a lot more energy. Yeah. Hopefully that makes sense. Gonna fudge in some quick changes to the clouds over here, just because the clouds are secondary. You know, it's about the hero girl, but there should be some changes. Alright. Yeah, this might be my last crit for today, just because I do have work I have to do, and I always run long on crits. I always run long, so I'll wrap this up and then I'm gonna go, and then I'll be back tomorrow for another 3 or 4 hours. So apologies if anybody was waiting to see something they're not gonna get to see today, but yeah, it's getting a little late here, so I gotta think about wrapping it up. I'll probably come on around the same time. Probably like 2. If you guys have the Artcamp chat, the one that Noah set up on the site, I'll be posting in there before I come live. So that's where you'll know if I'm gonna go. I'll come in and say, okay, it's starting in a half hour, it's starting in 10 minutes, and then I'll go live. So feel free to check that or leave it open. Yeah, if I'm gonna go later, I'll post in there and say there's a delay. But I'm still trying to figure out what the set time should be that works good for me as well as everybody else in the group, where most people can make it. I feel like it's probably either in the morning or like noon, but yeah, I guess I'll just keep experimenting this week and see what works, and then we'll go from there. Oh, cool! I'm really glad you guys like it. Um, yeah, I mean that's what I'm gonna bring to art camp. I guess my thing's gonna be a daily live stream where I'm just gonna do paintovers and critique, and if people have studies or whatever they're having trouble with that they want me to look at and help with, I'm gonna do that. And yeah, that's gonna be my it's gonna be my thing, I think. So very quickly, I want to address some stuff in the head and neck, and then I'm gonna get off of here. Oh, let me soften this line up real quick, just because it's you know, a little on the thick side, but get some nice little rim light down there. But yeah. You're gonna notice a pattern where I say, okay, let me just do this last thing and then I'm done, and then I do like 5 more things. It's a big problem I have. I'm just gonna do the face and then I'm gonna get off of here, and then I do the legs, the crotch, the emblem, and then the face. Oh yeah, I was wondering if Cynthia was going to be a part of this or not. I like Cynthia a lot. Her work's great. She's super nice too. Lovely lady are the 2 words that I would use to describe her. Lovely lady. Okay, so all right, let's take a look here. Cool. All right. All the major things I wanted to address, I addressed. A quick thing about the background, and this is just something for everybody to keep in mind, but the guy who painted this, or girl who painted this in particular, you don't need to make it as complicated as it is for it to work. There's a lot of unnecessary detail in these clouds, and you can kind of see in certain parts that I touched that I started kind of going over those. Um, it's about the girl, and the clouds can look dramatic with a lot less rendering. It's one of those things where you want to imply the detail. So you can keep these clouds and have them be these big, massive, billowing things and have it be all crazy and cool. But at the same time, just keep in mind that the more detail you have in the background, the more the eye is going to go there as opposed to the foreground. It's literally stealing away attention from what should be the focus of the painting, which is the girl. Because if you look at this, or how it was, I guess I'll shut off my layers real quick as I say this. Um, she has no texture on her. She's very flat, very smooth. The background is covered in texture. So the background is actually more focally interesting than the foreground. So what it's doing is it seems like she's cut out of the background instead of pasted on top of it. And that's what you want to look for. You want to look for where's the area of most visual interest. Right now it's in these clouds, all these little tiny details and tight renderings and stuff like that. You're having a lot of fun painting the clouds. But the clouds aren't the focal point of the piece. The focal point of the piece is girl flying through clouds. So you want to bring the eye back to the front. You can still keep some of this fun going on in the background. You just want to have big general things that imply it. You want to blur a lot of it out. You want to make sure that, you know, these things like these little gritty texture brushes that I'm painting over right now, not in the background. They're too detailed. They have too many little things in them that pull the eye there. They're very, very magnetic for the focal point of your piece. Big general shapes in the background. Okay. So this is where I try to fix the face, but the piece is very low resolution, so it might look a little weird. I'm gonna try though. I'm gonna try to do some stuff. Gonna bring more of that ear up into the hair, so the hair doesn't look so just kind of Bride of Frankenstein shooting up off the top of her head. Let's see. I already brought in some of the neck. Another thing to keep in mind for this piece that I didn't get to in my paint over because I'm, trying to just do the big important things, is light source. Right now, it's kind of implied that your light source is coming in from the right. If that's the case, there's going to be, cast shadows on the costume where the head is casting a shadow. That's all stuff you want to watch out for. Yeah, just keep in mind that light is directional and that shadows are a result of things being blocked from light, and just keep that in mind and work it into the piece. Okay. This shoulder is bothering me too. I'm going to bring that up and then curve it in. I'm going to ride this suit over like that. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I'll have to go back and see if any of Cynthia's crit streams are still up. She does really good critique. I used to always tune in when she was doing hers on the old Awesome Horse stream. She's a smart gal. Okay, one big thing I'm gonna do is select all this and copy merged. Yeah, please do that. Link it to the Paintover forum, and I'll actually go and use the secret channel from now on. That would be more beneficial, I assume. Sorry, this is a product of the low resolution files I'm painting over. Little things like getting the line art right are very, very tough when it jumps into pixels all of a sudden. And actually, let's see. I think the boobs are still too low, but maybe not. I'm gonna check. And they're not turning correctly. That's what it is. It's that arm's raised and the boobs aren't turning. That's what was bothering me. It took me a minute to see it. Go ahead and turn that emblem. Yep. That's what it was. Alright, I'm going to be off of here in a minute. If anyone has any last questions, concerns, comments, points of discussion, requests, concerns, feel free to post them in the chat right now and I'll try and answer them. If not, I will see you on here tomorrow at around the same time. Again, check the Artcamp chat for exact times. They might change, something might come up. You never know when a client's going to say, we need this by the end of the day, and then everything goes crazy, so I will post there in real time when I know what's going on. But yeah. I'll be back for another round of paintovers tomorrow. I will be doing, I know a couple that I'll be doing already, but if there's still not that many submissions on the paintover thread, so really, if you want feedback, I'll critique anything. So don't be afraid to post. Yeah, I'm happy to help with whatever. So. No one's gonna laugh at you. Someone told me yesterday they were afraid of getting laughed at, and I was like, why? Why would you be afraid of that? What are you doing? Okay, so, let's see. How would I balance studying versus imagination? I would do an hour to 2 hours of hardcore study every day. Possibly 3 if you can afford it. And I would do an equal amount of imagination, possibly more if you can afford it. I think a good 70-30 split between studies and imagination is the right way to go. You want 30% studies, and and you want 70% imagination. Because if you study all the time and you do nothing but study, you get into this weird zone where you think you're doing really good stuff, but the second you take away Google or whatever site you're using to study with, you're like, oh, I actually don't know how to draw anything because without a reference, I'm totally useless. So you really, 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 really want to spend a lot of time drawing from imagination to see, to improve it just being able to draw or being able to paint. Just the actual manual act of doing it and getting comfortable with Photoshop and working around corners where you might not have reference in the future. Those are all things you really want to familiarize yourself with. But yeah, I'd say 70% work from the top of your head or client work and 30 to 40% studies. But yeah, I would always do more work from your imagination than studies. Because I know people that are, really, really, really good at doing studies. And then they have paintings that are really, really, really good. But then you realize that the paintings they're doing are just a combination of individual studies that are composited into a final. And I've done that too, where it's like, okay, I'm painting a character, he's a knight. I'm going to study a pose, and it's going to be really good, and I'm going to tweak it and make it my own. And I'm going to go study armor, and then I'm going to put the armor on the guy. Then I'm going to study the environment, and I'm going to put him in the environment. And when you're done, it looks really rendered, and it looks really finished, but there's something weird about it. And the reason it's weird is that you kind of jigsaw puzzled an illustration together from a bunch of other influences that you studied, and you didn't actually draw it as your own thing from start to finish. And that's a very weird trap to fall into, and a lot of people fall into it because they don't understand that studying in and of itself isn't the goal. The goal is getting better at image making. It's not, I can render as good as everybody else. It's, I can make an image that's successful and feels complete. That's the challenge. There's some very, very well rendered stuff out there that makes absolutely no sense when you look at it and you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. So don't fall into that trap. I have fallen into it multiple times. So I'm just warning you that it's there. Alright, I'm going to get off here too. I'm going to zoom out and do my before and after. One big crit, just because I'm out of time now. It's like 6. I have to get to work on client work, or I'd spend another hour on this piece, because there's more I could do to it. But the big thing, really, really check the anatomy in the face. If you are a female, pose in the mirror and really get the stretch of that neck, because that was the big thing I wanted to work more on, but I just didn't have time. The neck is off, and the anatomy of the face is off. All the features are pushed up to the front of the face. They should be rounded around the face in an orb. I might crit this piece again down the line and get to spend more time on the face. Hopefully that'll happen. If it doesn't, yeah, just work on the face, work on little things in the anatomy here and there. I tried to solve the big read problems with the piece today, and hopefully those are visible. Hopefully you can see why I changed what I changed. But yeah, let me zoom out. I'll do a before and after, and then I'll upload this to YouTube. I will put it into the Artcamp forum on the paintover thread, which is in the crit section. And you'll be able to view this here anytime you want to re-listen to anything we talked about or discussed in the pieces. And I will upload JPEGs of everything I did along with the video. So, because the videos aren't the highest quality on live stream, so you can look along with that. But yeah, so here it is. I'm gonna duplicate the background, and then I'm going to merge everything together. Layer, merge visible. I'm going to delete this thing because it's needless. And here's my before and after on this piece, if this makes sense. So yeah, there's more I could do. I was going to go in with a multiply and darken some stuff to make her pop more and give more depth to the background, but really today was all about the character, getting the pose to sit a little bit better, getting the character to pop off the page more. Yeah. So, hopefully that makes sense. And I will be here tomorrow for another round of Paintover. Good luck on all your week 2 assignments, and I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.